The May 27th City Commission meeting is hereby called to order. Unfortunately, our mayor had a death in the family, so I'll be pinch hitting with the gavel. In a moment, we'll rise for the invocation that's led by our city manager, Anita Favors. Please remain standing for the Pledge of Allegiance, led by our treasurer clerk. All rise.
Dear God, we gather once again to deliberate the business of our city government. As the supreme giver of wisdom, we seek abundance of such that the work that is discussed today is in the best interest of our citizens. For the wealth, freedom, peace, and diversity that we enjoy in Tallahassee, we give you thanks. We pray a special prayer for those in Texas, Oklahoma, and surrounding areas who have been affected negatively by the torrential weather. We give you thanks, Lord, for your continuous protection, and in your name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Agenda modifications, Madam Manager.
Good evening, Commissioners. We have several agenda modifications tonight. We have two replacement items. Item 13.01, approval of agreement for Killearn End Transportation and Stormwater Concurrency. That item has been amended and updated. And 13.03, discussion of proposed property for sale at 3.1 acres on Railroad Avenue. That you also have a replacement item on that. You also have several items that have been deleted, 9.01 and 9.02, which are both Housing Authority appointments or reappointments, and are also a resolution related to affordable housing. We have some issues that we want to get legal opinion on before we go forward with either one of those. And also 9.05, approval of a memorandum of agreement with Collegetown, is also being deleted and added to the next agenda. We have one addition, 13.06, which is initiation of an out-of-cycle comprehensive plan map amendment, and that has been added by Cherie Bryant of the Planning Department.
When did we get that?
You just got it today.
This afternoon.
Mm-hmm. You would have gotten it today.
Yeah, we'll explain.
Okay.
Yes.
We'll explain.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any further agenda modifications?
That's it.
Mr. Treasurer Clerk, are there citizens to be heard on agenda items?
Yes, there are. We have two speakers at this time. The first is Patrick Murray on item 1301, the Killearn Country Club. If speakers will approach the microphone to my right and their left, each speaker will have 3 minutes for his or her remarks, at the end of which I'll let you know your time has expired. But there's also a light just to the left of the microphone that will be green. You're in exactly the right place. And just to your left, there will be a light that turns green right there. I don't know if you can see that just to the left of the stand. And that'll turn yellow when 30 seconds are remaining, and then red when your time's expired. If you'll give your name and address for the record, that'd be great.
Good afternoon. I'm Patrick Murray. I'm a resident of Tallahassee. I live at 4050 Kilmartin Drive. I live in Killearn Estates. I'm a member of the Killearn Country Club, the Killearn Homeowners Association, and my home is on the north course of the Killearn Country Club. And I'd like to request two things of the City Commission today. Number one is to deny the request for the extension of the traffic and water reservation that Mr. Tuck is requesting, or at least refer a decision until the courts rule on the various lawsuits involving the property. Mr. Tuck has further prepared 3 buildings from the inn for demolition, virtually abandoned them, called them dilapidated and an eyesore. I request that you force him to tear down those buildings or make them safe immediately and restore the area, which is to be consistent with the future land use requirements. The current inn is a legal non-conforming structure, and once demolished will lose its non-conforming status. It cannot be rebuilt. The future land use is currently designated as recreational and open space. Without comprehensive plan changes and rezoning, nothing can be built on the site of the inn. Therefore, there is no need to extend a reservation for traffic and water concurrency. Additionally, Mr. Tuck's request asks for an expanded area covered by the traffic reservation to the entire 266 plus acres, or the entire Killearn Golf Course property, not just the 3 to 5 acres of the inn. This expansion is unwarranted and not supported by any plans currently on the table. In a meeting with the city on December the 3rd of 2014, Mr. Tuck further stated, and this is a quote, "I'd like to transfer the residential density from the entire golf course to the redevelopment area in order to achieve the density of the redevelopment area of about 15 dwellings per acre." He was advised by the city staff that the current comprehensive planned land use is open space and there's no density to transfer. Most of the land adjacent to the redevelopment area is occupied as single-family detached homes on relatively large lots. This current request of Mr. Tuck's is just a clever means of setting the city up for an ever-expanding number of concessions with no definitive plan ever being presented. The agreement you're being asked to approve was originally entitled a development agreement. This was clearly not a development agreement. Mr. Tuck has attempted to sell this land for the purposes of constructing an assisted living facility, more specifically an Alzheimer's treatment facility. This is hardly the proper site for such a facility in the midst of a country club next to a driving range, tennis courts, and a swimming pool.
Excuse me, your 3 minutes have expired.
May I have an extension to finish?
Yes, sir.
I have a very short amount.
Yes, sir.
So I respectfully request that you deny Mr. Tuck's request to extend the traffic and water concurrency, at least until after the courts have ruled. Now, with respect to the inn, 3 buildings in the inn have been prepared for demolition. During the preparation for demolition of the buildings, they were cordoned off with yellow tape, and signs were affixed to the property indicating caution because mold and asbestos was being removed. The buildings have been gutted, have been sitting unattended for several months. These buildings are adjacent to the driving range, tennis courts, parking lot, and most importantly, the swimming pool. The weather's warmed and school will be closing soon, all leading to crowds of children at the pool. This presents a significant safety hazard and should be removed. The buildings are not secured and can be entered by anyone without effort. In fact, several of the sliding glass doors on the rear of each of the hotel rooms are still standing open. The primary parking and entrance to the pool is within a few feet of the inn buildings. Demolition should be forced immediately for the general safety and well-being of those who pass close to the structures. The parking lot should be left intact as it is the primary parking lot serving the remainder of the country club. At a minimum, these buildings should be enclosed in a chain link fence or other suitable security measure, should be taken to protect people in the area. Again, I respectfully ask that you move to have the buildings either protected or torn down.
Thank you, sir. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
Next speaker is Brian Messer on item 1305, which is appeal of decision of Clayman Plaza Design Review Board denying a request to remove use restrictions from the first floor of the Plaza Tower property.
Brian Messer, 3726 Salton Court, Tallahassee. Good afternoon. I am a broker with the Diamond Group Real Estate Company. I'm 4th generation Tallahassee resident. I've got 20 years experience in Tallahassee's commercial real estate community. I'm also a CCIM, which is a certified commercial investment member and the current Panhandle District President of that group. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to speak on behalf of the Plaza Tower. I'll be very brief. We're requesting you to approve the office space use in 10,000 square feet of the current vacant 36,000 square feet. The subject space is hidden behind the museum. It's hard to imagine a retailer choosing to lease the space with no visibility, no pedestrian traffic, and limited amount of garage parking. Opportunity has been given for retail to come in, and not one person has considered opening up shop in this space. It's been vacant for 10 years and has been listed with other real estate agencies. This is not a fly-by-night request. Many years have gone by with efforts to get a retailer in this space. I agree with the goal of having an 18-hour downtown and don't object to it at all. I think it's a positive thing. I feel allowing office space use will help achieve the goal of an 18-hour downtown. Currently, the Plaza Tower has no traffic of any kind unless it's a hosted social event in the green space. Offices located here will add foot traffic with it and will bring retail interest. This is not a property owner making a request out of desperation to fill their vacant space. This is the only reasonable use for this space. Thank you. If I can answer any questions as it relates to the space, feel free to ask.
Thank you.
Thanks.
We have one remaining speaker, and that is Reggie Boudier, also on 1301 Killearn Country Club.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Reggie Boudier here on behalf of Palmetto Club Properties LP. First, I'd like to thank Rick Fernandez, Karen Jumonville, Linda Hudson, Keith Burnstead, and all of your staff for all their time and input on this item. On your last agenda, we continued this item so we could meet with representatives of the board of Killearn POA. And myself, Rick Fernandez, and Keith Burnstead did so and sat down to really address all their concerns and questions, and we feel like we did that at the meeting. And just as I was leaving my office, I saw that they sent in a letter noting that based on the revisions that we did to the agreement and answering the questions, addressing their concerns, it looks like they've withdrawn their objections, so I just wanted to note that. Real quickly, though, this item really is, unfortunately, it's one of those situations where we had a really simple set of issues that became, from a perception standpoint, overly complicated, and they really go something like this. The owner would like to demo the hotel, which is in really bad shape. I think you just heard I was walking in on one of the speakers saying that, you know, that seems to be an issue that needs to be addressed, and that's what he wants to do. But before he can demo the hotel, we need to get some clear direction with this agreement on two very basic issues, and that's all. The agreement isn't proposing any approval of any development. It's just dealing with the demo of the hotel, which everybody, I think, has a consensus needs to come down based on its condition. Because we're not in a position to immediately proceed with a redevelopment following the demo of the hotel, there's a time lag. There's currently, as you know, litigation that's occurring that's stalling the process of the redevelopment of Killearn Country Club. We're not here to debate the litigation. We're not here to talk about any future development plans. We're not in a position to do that. All we want to do is demo the hotel and basically address the two issues before you in the agreement. Those two issues are simply, when the hotel is removed, normally there's a slab, and the slab has an impervious area associated with it, and we could leave that slab there, and when we go to redevelop, take credit for the impervious area that's on that slab. But your staff has asked my client to remove the slab, and so in the agreement, we're willing to do that, and we're moving forward to accept that condition. So we needed to address the timing of the credit that would occur just for that impervious area. It's that simple. And it stays within the basin of where the slab is. It doesn't apply to the whole property. The other issue is there's trips associated with the use of a hotel for transportation concurrency, and all we're doing is confirming the trips that go with that. So if any future development were to occur, and we're not saying
Excuse me, your 3 minutes have expired.
Then that agreement would address it. I'm available when the item comes for any questions, and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, sir.
We have had an additional speaker asked to speak also on the same item, Michael Rosenthal.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Michael Rosenthal at 404-4045 Kilmartin Drive.
I'm speaking on agenda item 1301 on the Kilmartin Inn Development Agreement. I'm asking you to postpone the agenda item until after the legal proceedings concerning the sale of the golf course are settled. Hopefully, the case will be settled shortly next month. The Commission should act in the best interest of the community and make their decision with all the facts. You will not be making an informed decision if you act before the legal proceedings are settled. The golf course may shortly be separated from the country club and inn. So even if they become separate entities, your decision should be made in a comprehensive fashion so that all the properties will work together in a synergistic fashion to benefit the community with maximum impact. Obviously, a hotel is a great asset to the golf course and country club. Another type of use could hurt the golf course, the country club, and the community. Do not treat each property in a piecemeal fashion. It's a shame that the management let the property decline to such a state that you describe it in the agenda as, quote, in poor condition, and, quote, the inn has been in a state of decline. What kind of person would let this happen? Make your decisions on this matter after you have all the facts and after the legal proceedings are settled. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Any further speakers?
No further speakers at this time.
Hearing none, want consent?
Move consent.
Second that.
There's a motion and second for consent. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Okay, we're now on 8.01, appearances by City Commission appointed boards and committees. We have the City Ethics Program activities. The City Attorney told me we can hear a presentation or we can accept the report.
Oh,
It's up to y'all. What is your pleasure?
Accept the report. I'm pretty satisfied with what I read, but
Is that a motion?
yes, that's a motion.
Second.
Accept the report.
We have a motion and second to accept the report on the city's ethics program activities. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously.
Thank you.
Great job, Julie. Thank you.
Very good.
Okay, item 1301, approval of agreement for Killarn Inn Transportation and Stormwater Concurrency. Madam Manager.
Commissioners, the inn at Killarn Country Club is a small inn of approximately 40 rooms, and as you have heard, it's been in poor condition for quite some time. The owner of the Killarn Country Club and inn has requested consideration of an agreement in which the developer would demolish the inn, including the underlying slab, and maintain traffic and stormwater concurrency reservation for 3 years, with a possible 2-year extension should a final development order such as a site plan or building permit be filed for the property. Staff is recommending approval of the agreement. Karen Jumonville is here. You've heard a lot about this issue already, but to just highlight some of the fine points of the recommendation.
Good evening, Commissioners. I think a lot has been said. Reggie summarized what the agreement does very well. What it does is preserve a small amount of traffic concurrency credit for the 40-room inn. And it also allows the stormwater credit for the impervious associated with the slab to be applied to redevelopment within the same drainage basin at a future date if the property is redeveloped. And the agreement would be good for 3 years with a potential 2-year extension. I think it's important to also point out what the agreement does not do. It does not approve a development plan or change the uses that are allowed on the property. It doesn't rezone it. It doesn't change the future land use on the property. And it also does not vest them against any regulations in the future. So when they come in the future to redevelop the site, they will have to meet all regulations that are on the books at that time. We're recommending approval of the agreement, and are happy to answer any questions you may have.
Move
Thank you,
approval of the item, Mr. Mayor.
We have a motion. Is there a second?
I'll second for discussion.
Motion and second. Discussion on the motion. Commissioner Miller.
Well, first of all, I want to thank the staff because I had a lot of criticisms of the agreement in the first place, and we went through it and came to an agreement on what they've eliminated every reference to the comprehensive plan and changed the name to indicate that this is actually not a development agreement. I also appreciate the parties coming together in the form of the homeowners association, sitting down and meeting And as I understand it, and I just briefly saw a letter today that the homeowners association they are the reason we went ahead and agended this again tonight. But I especially wanted to thank you all for working really hard on this. Karen and I have probably had several hours of meetings over the last couple of months on this topic, ever since last September. But at this point, and as a Killearn resident, I can say I'm comfortable with it, mainly because it doesn't allow anybody to do anything. One thing that I think is important to point out is if he leaves that slab there, he has all of this. I mean, he's asking, the staff has asked that he remove the slab, but if he leaves the slab there, those vested rights last, well, they're not vested, they're his rights. So he's asking in response to the staff's request that he remove the slab, he's asking to keep the rights he has now. And I think that's a real important point.
Commissioner Ziffer.
This is one for me that I've moved from being very much opposed to after seeing that the Homeowners Association sat down and met with the developer and worked through some of those issues, not to mention the fact that in this particular case I do rely on Commissioner Miller's comments, since she does live in that area. She obviously is very well connected to her neighbors. So I'm going to be supportive, but I'm going to make it very, 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 very clear, having lived on 2 golf courses and having expectations of what's behind me, and that is unless a development plan comes for those 9 holes that is exactly compatible with what already exists, there is no way I could ever vote for it. Those folks that bought those land, that bought those properties, bought those houses, have an expectation, and I'll support what that expectation is, which is for it to remain as it is. So when I vote for this in favor, I'm also making very clear I will not support a change in what goes on behind those houses.
Thank you. Any further discussion?
I'm good.
I would just add that 2 important points. One, I've seen a lot of email traffic about the assisted living facility. This in no way allows any additional use. I know you've heard that tonight, but it does not change the zoning. It does not change the comprehensive plan designation. It does not do that. The second point that Commissioner Miller made, very important, if they tear it down and just leave the slabs, they keep all their vested rights for impervious surface and traffic and stormwater. We're requiring them, asking them to pull the slabs up because it'd be an eyesore. So we're asking, say, listen, we'll allow you those vested rights that you would have, but at your expense, take the slabs up at the same time so that it's better for the people that live around it. Any other discussion on the motion? Commissioner Miller.
I just wanted to say one thing. This is a very, very minor action. The action down the road is going to be, it turns out that the overarching land use on the entire property and the zoning is all inconsistent, as Mr. Boudier pointed out, inconsistent with what's out there right now. So nobody can do anything in the future at all with the country club without coming in for both a change in the zoning and a change in the land use. That's a comprehensive plan amendment that's going to require a lot of public hearings, and there will be a much, much, much larger conversation, including several of the items that Commissioner Ziffer brought up at that time.
Further discussion, hearing none. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you, Commissioners. Item number 1302, discussion of proposed property sale for .92 acres on Mahan Drive. Madam Manager.
Commissioners, this item is requesting your consideration for the sale of city property on .92 acres on Mahan Drive to Kraft Nissan in the amount of $260,000. The parcel is surplus from the electric substation development. It was originally proposed for the construction of Fire Station 16, which is near completion, as you know, at the Consolidated Dispatch Center. The sale is at the appraised value and will facilitate the expansion of the Kraft Nissan dealership. Mark Bedoin is here to answer any questions you might have on this item.
Second.
Motion and second. Any discussion on the item? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you, sir. Item number 1303, discussion of proposed property sale for 3.01 acres on Railroad Avenue.
This is the night for surplus property, Commissioners. This item is for the proposed sale of surplus property on Railroad Avenue to Summit Holdings, and Summit Holdings is assembling property to develop an urban grocery store on Gain Street. The site contains 3 acres and is under contract for $2 million. Staff has worked with the city attorney to complete a contract amendment that would allow the developer to finalize a lease with a major grocery store. The agreement also provides for city approval of any changes to the plans, and such approval shall survive the closing. Again, Mark Bedoin is here to answer any questions you have on the sale of the property.
Commissioner Miller.
I'd like to move approval on this, but with a caveat, and that caveat is that both the city representative and the developer's representative sit down and have a real serious everyone understands agreement about easements over this property, because the city has I'm sure there are lines going all over the property, and I would hate to come around at the end of the day and find out that we have to buy easement back from this property owner because we didn't address that in the beginning. So that is the caveat, that you have conversations and everybody understands where those easements need to be.
Yes, Commissioner Miller, and we did verify that with the developer today. They'll work with us to retain any and all needs necessary for stormwater utilities.
Okay.
We haven't got that far along in the site plan process, but as we do, we'll work together to ensure that. And we're also going to do a contract amendment to provide for that, if it pleases the Commission.
I'll second the motion.
So hearing that was a straight motion for approval, made by Commissioner Miller, seconded by Commissioner Ziffer. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Item number 1304, discussion of ordinance number 15-010AA, amending Chapter 22 Vehicles for Hire to include transportation network application companies. Mr. Shelley. And as Mr. Shelley prepares the item, I wanted to recognize Miss Marilyn Dixon, who is in the audience, who, although she looks much younger than Mr. Shelley, is his mother-in-law, a native of Miami. But Lou Shelley tells me there is no way that he could have gotten along in life without his wonderful mother-in-law, and I want to recognize her. Welcome, ma'am. Mr. Shelley.
Thank you.
After that intro.
Thank you, and it is definitely true that my wife and I survived many years with two wild boys and many wild dogs only because of my mother-in-law. The item was on the vehicle for hire ordinance was scheduled to come back for a vote tonight. Several things have happened since the matter was brought to you and the public hearing was had on the item at the time. There have been a number of changes to the proposed ordinance. The state has taken no action with proposed state law regarding the regulation of Uber. We continue in our office to talk to the representatives of the taxi cab, transportation services, and Uber. And the changes that we anticipate taking place at this point will be significant, and I am not at all comfortable with moving forward with the changes that that we anticipate taking place. So we anticipate bringing to you the first meeting in June essentially a new vehicle for hire ordinance. Hopefully we're getting closer and closer to agreement by all parties, and that's always been our goal, and a level playing field for all is still our goal. And so that a new ordinance will be introduced. We will have meetings between tonight and that time, again with representative of the taxi cabs. We had a short meeting yesterday, and I assured Mr. Floyd Webb, who was there, that we would, in fact, continue to have input from the taxis on this, as we will continue to meet with Uber to try to get as much agreement as we can, consistent with public safety and fairness to all involved, including the public. So there's no action you need to take tonight. We don't want to drag this out any longer than possible, but we think that the proposed ordinance that we'll bring back to you in a couple of weeks will be significantly changed than what was introduced back in February, and therefore we need to start the process over again.
Thank you, Mr. Attorney. Commissioner Ziffer.
Just a quick comment, and that is, as we move through this process up until that meeting, if you would set up individual briefings, I don't want to walk into the meeting and have to but at that time, I know you're very good about that, as all the staff, but this is one in particular that I think all of us have some pretty strong feelings towards. The level playing field for me is vitally important. I just don't want to bring everybody down to one playing field when maybe we could raise the bar and have everybody go to another playing field. So having said that, I think my views are probably pretty clear.
We'll make sure that the commissioners are fully informed with the details of the ordinance that we're going forward with.
Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner Ziffer. My only addition would be, Mr. Attorney or Madam Manager, upon contemplation of the final ordinance, I would like to see what enforcement mechanisms we will have for enforcement of the final ordinance. So I can speak with confidence that whatever legislation this body passes will be enforced.
Agreed.
And I think that's a point that has been made repeatedly by representatives from the taxi cab industry and also from Uber. So I think that's going to be a key piece.
Thank you, sir. No action required on the item. Without objection, we'll move to the next. Item number 1305, appeal of the decision of Clayman Plaza Design Review Board denying the request to remove retail use restrictions from the first floor of the Plaza Tower property in Clayman Plaza. Madam Manager.
Commissioners, the plans which the City Commission and the Clayman Plaza Design Review Board approved for the Plaza Tower on Clayman Plaza call for the first floor of the building at the plaza level to be restricted to restaurant and retail use. The owners of the tower have requested that the use restriction be modified to allow 10,200 square feet of the first floor space to be used for office. The Clayman Plaza Design Review Board denied the request for a change in use at their meeting on February 27, 2015. Per the regulations which govern the development on Clayman Plaza, the Plaza Tower owner has appealed the decision and have asked that the City Commission review and make a decision on this item. The Plaza Tower owner is asking specifically that you overturn the ruling of the Design Review Board. And staff is recommending that the Commission sustain the board action based upon the direction that you gave us many years ago regarding what you wanted to see on Clayman Plaza.
I'll move to support staff's recommendation to sustain the recommendation by the Clayman Plaza Review Board.
Motion. Is there a second? Second. I'll pass the gavel. Second. Discussion on the motion? I'll jump in if you'd like.
I'll jump in.
Commissioners, I'll just give you my 2 cents on this. We've got, first of all, I guess this would have been well over a decade ago. When we approved the project, when the City Commission approved the project for Plaza Tower was given the height restrictions were taken off, and they were given many more floors than they currently were allowed to have in exchange for some things, the primary component of which was the retail. And now they're saying the retail won't work. Well, I'm of the opinion, and perhaps it's just my opinion, that the retail would work if they filled up the condominiums. And they haven't filled up the condominiums for all these many years due to lawsuits and a whole bunch of other host of problems. And if you had people living in the building, it would support the retail. But the bigger problem for me is the slippery slope here. So we have required retail in exchange for other things all over the downtown core. That's right. On Clayman Plaza, we required it in the Challenger Learning Center. We required it with the Florida League of Cities building. We required it with the Tallahassee Center, which was called Game Day when it first came forward. We required it on the Allied Center done by Red Brick on Monroe. We required it, I believe, on High Point Center. So all of those areas, their retail does not bring what a law firm would bring in rental income. So if we approve this tonight, what are we going to say when the League of Cities says, well, We don't want Harry's there anymore because we can get more money by putting in a law firm. And we don't want Subway on Monroe and BB&T because we can get more money by expanding the law firms. And the whole 18-hour downtown that we started a couple of decades ago trying to instill retail in the downtown core, we would flip-flop based on market pressures. Well, we understand that the market's not there, will not be the highest and best use of a developer space. We get that. We get that on a lot of Gain Street. We get that in downtown. That's why we pushed in overall development to give concessions so that the rest of the project carries the retail, which is vital to have an 18-hour happening downtown. So I support the motion strongly. Commissioner Ziffer.
Yeah, I totally agree with all your comments, Commissioner Maddox. Once we give it up, we don't get it back. And then, like you said, there's the slippery slope. And you are absolutely right. Sell the condos. Sell the condos and retail will come. And the other thing is if this commission sends a message to the developer that we're not going to allow anything but retail, my guess is at some point they come to the realization, I guess we'll have to just lower our rates so we can get retail in here. So I'm supporting staff's recommendation.
Further discussion. Commissioner Richardson.
Mr. Mayor, thank you. Obviously this predates me on the commission, but if you look at the fact that it's been a decade, and I know that development has gone through a lot of reiterations with the recession and the inability to sell the condominiums, but it's been a decade. And I think that efforts have been made to attract retail. I think we got a letter actually from a cafe that wants to locate in there asking us to support this item because they need the foot traffic that will be generated by it to support their establishment. I think all of us would love to see an 18-hour downtown, and we're continuing to move in that direction. But in this case, I think that just using a portion of that space for office space, which would in and of itself generate some traffic to support any other retail that might be located in there, I think would be a reason for us to approve this request at this point. I mean, they're not asking to use all of the space for retail, but 10 years, and if it could be another 10 years, and there's still no, and we haven't achieved what it is we hope to achieve 10 years ago. And so I think that this is a reasonable request at this time for that portion of the first floor facility.
Commissioner Miller, then Maddox.
I have been encouraging these folks to come forward and appeal this decision mainly because of the location of the retail. I do respect your opinions about the fact that we've asked people to do retail and given concessions like building height and so on. The thing about this that had appealed to me was the location and the way it's located in the back. This is a lesson for us in the future. We are government, and we are trying to drive market forces to create a lot of retail, which we're doing all over town. We do want very badly to have that vibrant downtown that everyone comes to and shops that we remember. I don't know that it applies to a location like this. And so in the future, I mean, I can see how things are lining up here. But in the future, I think we need to be thoughtful about that because a retail establishment is just not, they're going to have a difficult time in this location. And I'm afraid that we're going to have the vote to sustain the issue right now. But the fact that the bankruptcy has just ended and the condos are again on the market, I'm hoping that you all will entertain some, and this doesn't have to be part of a motion, but I'm hoping that if a year from now these folks have sold a lot of the condos and find themselves still in the same condition. We can't have empty storefronts all over town. I mean, it just is not a good idea. And as government making policy and pushing retail establishments only to have empty storefronts, I'm not sure if we've actually accomplished our goal. So that's my position. I mean, I would be supportive of this. I do understand that probably every building owner in town is going to come in and want to do the same thing. I felt this was a different situation because of the fact that it is hidden in the back. So hopefully we can discuss this in the future if it continues to be an empty space, because that's certainly not our goal.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. I would agree that with time we'll be able to tell. The last 10 years has not been the fault of the market as to why there's not retail space there. We've had bankruptcies, lawsuits. I mean, it's been plagued with problems. So that I think that is why and if you're wondering about proof of that, look at the Tennyson, which sold all their units. Look at Tallahassee Center, which if they haven't sold all their units, they're very close. And the retail that is around both of those that have thrive. So that's why, we can revisit it another time, but I agree. Okay, we have a motion and second. Any further discussion on the motion? The motion is for staff recommendations to deny the appeal. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, nay.
Nay.
Okay.
All right. So it fails. It fails.
Well,
All right.
So we're in limbo, essentially.
Okay, item number 1306, initiation of...
Mayor, if I can understand correctly, then we're basically, by not changing anything, we're supporting and sustaining the recommendation, correct?
That's correct.
That's correct. It was an appeal from the decision. A 2-2 vote means the appeal did not pass.
Correct.
All right, item number 1306, initiation of an out-of-cycle comprehensive plan map amendment and associated rezoning for Unit 20, Killarn Estates, initiation of text amendment to the UR2 future land use category, and initiation of land development code amendments removing local street access, prohibition in MR zoning, and increasing maximum densities of the MR and MR1 zoning districts. Commissioners,
I've not read any of this, so
let me explain to you, and Commissioner Miller and I asked that this be put on short notice from our target issue meeting earlier today. The young couple in the third row there, the Weitzel's, and our staff brought to us, they have a parcel of land, and their staff can explain it to you, that is surrounded by duplexes and triplexes. This enclave was, to everyone's belief, erroneously zoned the wrong thing when the comprehensive plan passed in 1992. Leaving a bunch of non-conforming uses and leaving the Weitzel's lot as the only one that's being required to be a single-family home. Our staff has recognized that and said and brought forward a fix, which is all the mumbo-jumbo and jargon that I've just announced, to make it a fix in the comprehensive plan that, to the best of their ability and the greatest minds that we have, won't create a problem somewhere else, but will fix the problem here. The reason for the late notice is we were told if it waits to the regular cycle, it will be over a calendar year before these folks can see relief. And we were hoping to ask your indulgence to start this process on a out-of-cycle comp plan text and map amendment and zoning amendment, which would give these folks relief. It will come with all the public outreach that we normally do.
Right. Okay.
And it will come with a final determination by this body. We just wanted to start the process now.
So just to be very clear, the public will still have an opportunity to speak.
I have to hire you.
Public will still have an opportunity to speak.
Yes.
And for us at that time with more information to...
Yes.
Okay,
Yes,
sir.
Commissioners, if normally we would not have had this on the agenda
I'm good.
at this late notice, but because of the issue and the timing that it would require once it missed this cycle, we thought that it was appropriate because it will still go through every process that it would go through otherwise.
Fine.
So you'll still see it.
Is there a motion? Commissioner
I
Miller.
move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second for the recommended action. Any discussion on the motion? Commissioner Miller.
Oh, I just wanted to say, first of all, that this has been several months since the problem came up. I mean, they didn't just come to our quality of life meeting today, or our whatever short-range planning meeting. And it has been a quagmire that staff has had to tease out. The Weitzel's actually had a letter that they received from the city back when, vesting them and preserve their rights to put multifamily here. The development went on around them. Actually, I think all that development was already there, even at the time that the comprehensive plan put this RP2 on this area. And honestly, I've been down to drive around the area. It is wall to wall to wall apartments or townhouses and condos. And the only thing left is them. Well, and then in 2003, the commission basically rescinded all vesting letters, and these folks were dealing with a death of, I think, Ms. Weitzel's mother, is that, if I'm not correct, and the subsequent cleaning out of that. This happened to me very last year, so I'm very aware of what you were going through. And so here they are, when they went to go and sell their property, they find out that, in fact, they can't build anything but a single-family home. And they would be basically the only single-family home in the neighborhood. But we felt this was important to move forward with, and I'd appreciate your support on the motion.
Thank you, Commissioner Miller. Further discussion on the motion? All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Okay, Commissioners, our next item is a public hearing, as it's mandated that starts at 6 p.m. per advertisement.
Can we go ahead and do unagended speakers at this time? Maybe commissioner comments, we get that out of the...
Sure.
Since we have a lot of time.
Without objection, show it done. Unagended speakers.
We have a single unagended speaker at this time, Harry Brown.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
I'm Harry Brown. I reside at 5431 Crump Road, Tallahassee. I know many of you wonder why I come back and forth to the commission, speaking about the things that occurred to me here at City Hall. I do it because the things that happened to me were extremely horrendous, and they should never happen to any employee. Your employees are your greatest asset in this government. And some of your employees you treat like dogs. I have to tell you, that's the truth. You treat like dogs. Steve Chase, when I was so horrendously fired, stood right out there in the lobby and said, Harry, one day you're going to thank Anita for firing you. And tonight, Anita, I want to look you in the eye and tell you, I thank you for firing me. And the reason I thank you for firing me, because it gives me the tenacity, the boldness, and the courage to come and speak against those things that I experienced. I experienced a cesspool here in this city, right here in City Hall. Others have experienced the same thing. And I don't want it to ever happen to another employee, because truly, it hurts. It hurts. Anita, it hurts. Anita, when you sexually harassed me, that hurt. You can throw your eyes up in the ceiling if you want to, but it happened. The lawyer said it happened. Your lawyer, or one lawyer who's an AKA of yours, said it didn't, but it happened, and that's why it was filed in the courts. But that should never happen to anybody. And I can remember the time I sat before you and you tried to compel me to admit that I had sexually harassed a no-good security guard, somebody who was really problematic, schizophrenic, psychopathic. Look here. That shouldn't happen to any employee. You know, I had to endure several embarrassing situations with you, Anita. You bolted from that dais and came out in this lobby here, in the audience, and stuck your finger in my face, berating me up one side and down the other. That was shameful. It was hurtful, because you know how hard I worked for you in this government and tried to make you look good over and over again.
Excuse me, your time's expired.
Thank you.
I never saw the light on, man. My time's expired. Anyway, thank you, brother. I'll be coming back to say the same thing over and over again. Thank you so much for listening. Good night.
Any other speakers?
No other speakers.
All right, anything from the commission? Do we commission sharing of ideas? You want to do any of that now?
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Ritson.
I do have a point of clarification, if I could ask the attorney. On item 13.05, the motion was, if I am not incorrect, was to uphold the decision of the Clayman Plaza Design Review Board denying the request to remove the retail use restrictions from the first floor of the Plaza Tower property in Clayman Plaza. And that item died on the motion died on a tie vote. So wouldn't that, or does that suggest that then we approve the appeal?
No, I don't think it does. I think what occurred here, if there had been no appeal, the decision of the review board would have stand. To change that, to override that, would take a majority vote. So it may have been characterized in the motion inappropriate, Commissioner, but I think that the basic rule is the Commission has to take some action to change the decision of the appeal board. In order to take action to change that, it would have required, with 4 members present, at least 3 members to vote in favor of changing that.
Because it was appeal.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Any other sharing?
We have another speaker, I think.
We got
I have had another speaker. That is Tom Jerry Thiebaud. Gentleman's at the back of the room, and there you go. You may not have been here at the earlier when I gave instructions, but speakers have 3 minutes for their remarks, and I'll let you know when that 3 minutes is expired, but there's also a light on the little shelf there to your right that turns green right there, and that'll turn yellow and then red.
Okay.
You give us a name and address, we'd appreciate it. And then
My name is Tom Thiebaud Jr., but I'm known as Nature, and I'm from Kansas City, Missouri, the Show Me State, and I'm very much into that. I used to be an automotive machinist, and I was the best artist. Every school, nobody even come close to me. Completely out of my category. But I've been traveling. I don't know if any of you all know this about the spirit of the fire. There's been many songs about it. There's been many people that have taken this path, supposedly, that have taken this path on. And I've been taking the path for 25 years. Well, I took on the path 25 years ago. But I have completed it. I have gained the knowledge of how to make paradise happen. Jerry Garcia sings a song. One of his songs, he sings many songs about this path. One of the songs says, the right hand's on the right foot this time. That's me. I've got proposals and designs how to make paradise happen for real. And I need to find some people that will help me to implement them, help me to critique my proposals, how to get some factors. I'm terrible at research. And I just got trespassed from the libraries. So now I can't even go into any public libraries, supposedly. Okay, I'm very much on, if people are wrong to me, I make it obvious they're wrong to me. People don't like being told they're wrong. More so than not being told they're wrong, they don't like being shown they're wrong. And I'm very much into that. But what I need to do is I need to ask commissioners if you can take a look at my proposals, my designs. I've got it right outside. I was going to bring the board in, but I'll have it when you take a break. You can take a look at it. I want to make paradise happen. I've got the knowledge how to make it happen for real. In about 3 years, you give me 10 people, 3 years, this planet will be paradise. Okay, there will be no conflicts. All the energies of conflicts will be separated. I've got proposals that will do that. And if people want to have their freedom and do what they want to do that's disharmonious, they'll be in their place. There will be places for that. I've got proposals for that as well. Like I said, I'd like you to take a look at this board that I have out here. It's got a brief description of all my proposals, and I can compose these in detail form with plenty of facts. But I'd like some help doing that. Right now, I don't panhandle, I don't bum. So people give me money like that, I tear it up. If they don't respect my work, I don't want nothing from them. So I need to at least get enough funding so that I don't have to try to hassle and hustle and try to get people to respect my work and give me money to make my things happen. I need some some funds to be able to take a look at my work, and you decide if you can lead me in the right direction to get the funding.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Nature, for your civility and being our most rational speaker tonight.
Thanks.
We appreciate it. Okay, Commissioner, sharing of ideas. Anything?
Sure, I'll do one real quick.
Go ahead.
It was 25 years ago, about right now, that I married my beautiful wife, Gail Stansbury Ziffer, on this date. She's going to be joining us for dinner because this is my anniversary dinner.
Oh, wow.
Sad as that sounds. That's my commitment to the city of Tallahassee.
I don't know if you're going to see 26.
So I just wanted to recognize her because I'm not sure why she married me, but I'm glad that she did.
Congratulations.
There's always 6:30 and drinks across the street.
Yeah.
Any other sharing of ideas? We just had Memorial Day. I want to thank all of our men and women that have served in the armed forces, and to remember those who gave their all and gave everything. And I was thinking of Daniel Chairs on that day, and so we've lost too many in Tallahassee. So our prayers go out to their families as well. Okay, Commissioners, without objection, we'll stand in recess until 6 o'clock.
Mr. Mayor?
Commissioner Richardson.
Thank you. It almost slipped my mind, but I did want to thank our attorney, Lou Shelley, for his leadership in the Relay for Life. I understand our team did a tremendous job, and so we want to thank you for your leadership on that, Lou. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
I love the video.
Yes.
It's perfect.
I would like to thank you all for indulging us in dealing with the Weitzel's problem and letting us put that on the agenda after our meeting this morning. So not something we do lightly, and I appreciate it.
Government can move quickly. All right, thank you. Without objection, we stand in recess to 6 p.m. Tallahassee City Commission meeting of May 27, 2015 is called back to order. We're on the public hearing section of our agenda. 1501, second and final public hearing on ordinance number 15-0-04, abolishing the Urban Design Commission, transferring responsibilities from the Urban Design Commission to the Planning Department, deleting interim development standards for the Gaines Street urban infill and redevelopment area, and correcting Scribner's errors. Mr. Attorney.
The first public hearing was held on April 22nd. This is the last and final public hearing. It amends chapters 1, 2, 7, 9, and 10 of the Tallahassee Land Development Code, abolishes the Urban Design Commission and the other functions that you mentioned in the title.
Mr. Treasurer Clerk, are there any speakers?
There are no speakers.
I'll move it.
Second.
Hearing none, we have a motion and second. Any discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Item number 15.02 is the first and only public hearing on ordinance number 15-0-07, amending the sign code in the Tallahassee Land Development Code related to signage for multifamily housing and within the multimodal transportation district. Mr. Attorney, anything to add?
The only change, Your Honor, is the ordinance change 15-0-07AA as amended.
There are no
Mr.
speakers.
Cook, any speakers? No speakers. Hearing none, is there a motion?
Move the item.
I will second with a brief comment.
Motion and second. Commissioner Ziffer on the motion.
Yeah, we had a good meeting with representation from just about all the stakeholders, and actually 2 meetings, yes. And it was, I thought, a good outcome. We still have more work to do, and I think we're going to be addressing those when we start to review multimodal. And so I think we have a good outcome. Mr. Mayor Pro Tem.
Okay.
Thank you, Commissioner.
We do have speakers. I'm sorry. I need to make that correction.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Cook, call the first speaker.
The first speaker is Bruce Screws.
Thank you, sir. Since he wasn't at a microphone, he said he appreciated the opportunity, waives his right to speak, and is available for questions.
I believe he also said what a good job you did on this, sir.
Yes, sir.
Yes, I think that was the comment.
Any further speakers?
Mr. Wayne Funderburk, and I believe he has the same opinion.
Mr. Wayne Funderburk waives his right to speak, available for questions. In favor of the ordinance. There any additional discussion?
Mayor,
Commissioner Richardson.
Just wanted to thank Commissioner Ziffer for the leadership that he provided on this. It started out as a somewhat controversial issue, but I think through his leadership and working with the affected parties, we came to a reasonable agreement.
They seem to be nodding their heads in the right way, so I guess it worked.
Right.
Agreed. It's a sign of the times.
So thank you, Commissioner Ziffer, for your leadership.
But we have more work to do, but yes.
Yeah.
Any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed, nay. Passes unanimously. Thank you. That concludes our public hearing. Are there any agenda items to come up from the Commission? Commissioner Ziffer.
I just have a couple comments, if I could. Could I?
Sir.
On the last item, first of all, I also want to recognize our staff because it took more than just people from the community to come, so thank you, Karen, and your staff, Glenn, for all the hard work you did on that. I had an interesting travel day yesterday. I had to fly down to Miami for some business, and coming back, flights pretty much all over the eastern seaboard had some serious issue delays because of a 2-hour storm through Atlanta. And so I had to move airlines, and I finally ended up on a carrier that flies directly to Tallahassee that was supposed to depart, I think, at 8 o'clock, and I'd be home by 9:45. Well, things kept getting delayed and delayed and delayed, and our flight finally left Miami, I think, at 12:50, 1 a.m., and we landed at Tallahassee International at around 2:30, and all I could think of was, who was working at our airport at 2:30 in the morning? Because I had not flown in at 2:30 in the morning in quite some time. And we came upon the gate, swung out right away. There were people waiting for us as we got off the plane. I didn't realize this, but our rental car counters are there until the last flight comes in, and those folks were there. Luggage came fairly quickly. I will say this, no one was really concerned about missing their connection because we don't connect. But I wanted to thank Chris Curry and everybody at our airport because there wasn't a single person on that flight that wasn't unbelievably relieved to know that our airport was not only open, but it was functioning as good as it possibly could. So thank you for everybody that works at our airport. It was a great moment.
Fantastic. Thank you, Commissioner Ziffer. Anything further to come before this body? Hearing none, meeting adjourned.
If any of these are in your house, this should be too. When the problem is poison, the answer is poison control.